Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So Belgrade FIDE Grand Prix has just started. We have 16 top players divided into 4 groups playing double round robin tournament. And already in the first round we had some very interesting games. Let's take a look at the duel between Alexander Grischuk and Dmitry Andreikin. In the game, Alexander Grischuk had white pieces and he started with e4, c5, knight to f3, e6, white strike the center with d4, c captures on d4, knight recaptures, knight to c6, and now knight to c3. So what do we have? We have Taimano variation of a Sicilian defense, characterized by this d7 and e6 pawn structure, prompting white to play g4, harassing black king at some point, but it didn't happen in the game. In the game, black plays a6, preventing this knight to b5 unpleasant jump, knight jump, and white plays bishop to d3, knight to f6, now a3, protecting this b4 square, preventing this bishop to g4. Black plays now d6, and white is more active. f4 was played, grabbing more space, and now black plays queen to c7. So we are at the knight move. Alexander Grischuk, as white, already played this the same position with Grandmaster Jorge Corri, only then Grischuk played queen to f3. In this game, he played bishop to d3. Now, trading this knight on d4 is still an option, but if black captures on d4, bishop recaptures, so black is facing the threat of e5 pawn push, grabbing more space, and the only way to stop it is if black plays a5, creating additional weakness in his position, so black doesn't go for it. Instead, black plays bishop to e7, now white castles kingside, and black does the same, continuing the development, and now white plays king to h1, creating this space on g1, preparing to g1, protecting this pawn, preparing this g4 pawn push, or maybe white will just avoiding this unpleasant bishop to c5 immediate check here. I don't know, actually doesn't matter. In the game, black plays rook goes to e8, and now white continues the development with queen to f3, putting the queen into the action. Bishop goes to e7, rook from a goes to e1, and now rook from a goes to c8. So both sides have developed all the pieces. White, of course, is here targeting on the king side, and definitely at some point white wants to play this g4 pawn push. But if white tries with g4 immediately, then black simply captures knight on d4, bishop recaptures, and now knight can easily capture on g4. And of course, if queen recaptures, we have e5 discover attack on the queen, and also attacking this bishop. After queen, let's say, goes back to g1, simply black gains a piece back by capturing bishop. And if, for example, white blunders by playing queen to d4, simply bishop to f6, attacking queen. Once this queen is gone, we have double attack on this knight on c3, so this is very bad for white. So here in this position, maybe removing knight to b3, removing knight from d4 would be a totally solid option. In the game, however, white plays queen to g3, maybe also preparing this knight to f3, preparing to strike on g5, further putting pressure on the black king. So black counteracts immediately. Knight to h5 was played, attacking the queen. Queen goes back to f3, and now, of course, knight can go back to f6, and then queen to g3, and maybe we would also have a threefold repetition, who knows. But in the game, black plays g6, protecting this knight on h5. Now white has more options, and white has decided to play f5. So we have this f-pawn push. Of course, pawn on g6 has to protect this knight on h5, so a pawn cannot capture on f5. And if, for example, e-pawn captures on f5, black loses control over e5 square, so knight can easily jump here, forking both queen and bishop, and queen would have to go back to e8, but now knight can capture with bishop on e7. As you can see, all pawns here are on the light square, so black with by losing darts for bishop, black would lose an important asset. However, white also lost the control over this e5 square, so black immediately grabbed the opportunity. Knight to e5 was played, forking queen and bishop. As stated before, majority of pawns here on the king side on the light square. So if black have this bishop on d3, that's not so tragic. In the game, white plays queen goes to h3. Black plays queen to d8, and now we have f pawn captures on e6. Of course, white is hoping that black would simply play bishop to e6, then knight would simply grab this bishop. After f pawn recaptures, queen captures, white is pawn up, also queen is under attack. After king to h8, white is controlling this f file, and this bishop pair is targeting black king, so here white would definitely have a very strong initiative. So in the game, black captures on e6 with the f pawn. And now, of course, this pawn is double attack, one time defended, so knight captures on e6. Now, knight, of course, is pinned by the bishop, and this will cause some problem for white later in the game, but currently, knight is attacking queen on d8, and also c7 square is protected, b6 also, so there is only one square left for black queen, so queen goes to a5, the only square. And now this is a very tricky position. Of course, definitely white wants to play knight to d5 at some point, attacking this bishop on e7. But the correct way to do it was to play b4, because now here b pawn blocks this queen on this diagonal. Now, again, black has only one square, and this is by capturing pawn on a3. And now white would be able to play knight to d5, attacking this bishop. After maybe bishop goes, I don't know, f8. Now I can choose either harass this queen on here on the a file, maybe also gaining threefold repetition of the moves. But in the game, however, white plays knight to d5 goes immediately, attacking this bishop on e7. Of course, also protecting b6 square, threatening bishop to b6, again attacking the queen. Well, queen has a very small space to move, so white is definitely trying to trap this queen. So black plays bishop goes to d8, further protecting this square on b6. And now white responds with bishop to h6, trying to deliver here mate on f8. Of course, black cannot capture knight on e6 because queen simply captures. After rook captures, we have rook to f8 checkmate. So rook has to protect this f8 square. This knight on e6 cannot be protected, but now here comes a very spectacular queen sacrifice. Black plays queen captures on e1. White has no other option but to recapture with rook, and now black can easily gain this knight by playing bishop to e6, attacking queen on h3. Because rook mate on f8 is no longer possible. Queen is under attack. There is only one free square for the queen, and it is a3, so queen goes to e3. Now let's see where we are. For a queen, black has rook and a knight. Okay, white has additional pawn, but the harmony between the black pieces is much greater. You will see immediately black plays knight goes to g4, attacking queen on e3. Queen goes back to d2, and now knight captures bishop on h6. You might think that white can recapture, but if white captures knight on h6, simply bishop captures on d5. E-pawn cannot recapture, because if e-pawn recaptures, we have rook to e1, and you have mate in the next move. So in the game, white plays bishop to e3, somehow blocking this rook on e file. Bishop is protected, so first knight from h5 goes to g7. Again, you might think that white can easily grab the knight on h6, but if queen captures on h6, again we have bishop captures on d5. After e-pawn recaptures, we have rook to c2. Now this bishop is pinned and is going to be captured, and again black is winning. So in the game, white plays rook to f1, removing rook from the direct pin, and now black responds with knight goes to f7, and white plays knight to f6, forking both king and rook. Black doesn't want to give up the exchange, so bishop captures on f6, rook recaptures, and now black plays rook to c5, preparing to attack this defenseless pawn on e4. White plays h3, creating escape sketch from the first reinforcing king. Well, Black has a light square bishop, the h2 is dark square, so this is no problem for white. And now black plays knight to h5, attacking rook on f6. Well, if white removes the rook, for example, to f3, black again attacks the rook with the knight to g5, and after rook to e3, black can simply capture this pawn on e4. White cannot recapture because we have knight to g3 forking king and rook, so this continuation is very bad for white. So in the game, white captures this knight on h5. Now black doesn't want to get double pawn, so rook captures on h5. Now white plays queen to f2. Black responds with rook to e5, attacking this defenseless pawn on e4, and white plays queen to b6, attacking pawn on b7. Now this pawn on e4 is going to be captured sooner or later, so there's no point in sacrificing additional pawns. So black plays rook to e7, protecting pawn on b7, and now white plays rook to f4, protecting this pawn on e4, but not for long. Black plays g5, attacking the rook. Rook goes back to f2, and now black finally captures pawn on e4. Well, black is clearly winning. White might have very well resigned. In the game, b3 was played, and now black responds with bishop to d5, implicitly putting pressure on this g2 pawn. Well, let's see what white can do. Not very much, even after c4. Black simply plays bishop to c6, all his pieces are protected. Maybe white could try with a4 and later with b4, b5, but in vain, because black would play g4, threatening with g3, protecting this h2 square, and later trying with some mating trades on the first ranks. But even if white captures on g4, black will simply recapture. Even after b4, black will simply play rook to e1 check, king to h2, rook to h4 check, king to g3, and now rook from the first rank goes to e4, threatening with rook to g4 with checkmate. And the only way to protect it is by playing rook to f3, creating additional space, but after rook from the e file goes to g4 check, after king goes to f2, bishop simply captures rook, pawn recaptures, and rook captures pawn on c4. Of course, queen can capture on b7, but rook captures on b4. Again, queen can capture on a6, but queen captures on a4. Black has two rooks and a knight and additional pawn versus queen, so this is a definitely winning position for black. Of course, it would require some precision, but at this level, this is simply a winning for black. But anyway, in the game, in this position, Alexander Grischuk has decided he has enough and resigned the game. So I hope you like this game. I hope you have learned something from it. More will come from the Belgrade FIDE GP tournament, so stay tuned. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.